Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. Great to kick this one off. Just want to check if anyone can type. Can you hear me okay? Is everything all right in terms of volume? Is that good? Where are we going? This way. Just let us know in the messages. I'll quickly check myself just to make sure that everything is actually a-okay before we kick this one off with it all. Just double check. Sounds okay. Just want to make sure. Yeah, that sounds good here. Fantastic. Thank you, my friend. Um, all right, awesome sauce. Okay, yeah, let's just go through kind of what's the process and what we're going to be talking about here today. So this one is actually, as you imagine, quite a late night stream there as well. So it's a bit of a time. I'm trying to move around. I've moved apartments in case no one can realise it's slightly different. It's a lot smaller too, hence you wrong side. Being able to see my bed over there, downsizing, downscaling. But yeah, it's kind of a different spot. So welcome to my new pad. You know, Parry, hello there. Big Boom, nice to see you on here too, mate. So thank you guys for joining me. Yeah, so this one's a little bit later than I wanted it to do, but just due to technical difficulties, all this, I couldn't get on as quickly as I wanted. So I apologise, and we're here now, and I just wanted to do something, even if it's for 30 minutes. And yeah, reveal of the century. I didn't know if I wanted to show my face, to be honest, after quarantine, and I was like, oh man, if I'm gonna go to quarantine, North Sub, buddy, I was like, I'm gonna eat all the worst food for me. So I've been trying to get back into shape and not let quarantine balloon me out. So I'm trying to get back towards that. But yeah, sorry for the late stream for most of you. I'm just doing something a little bit different. I just want to chat to you all because, like I said, with the fact everyone's in quarantine, I think this kind of seems like the best time for us all to actually come together, discuss level design. You see me, what I do. I explain a bit more of my process. We can kind of have a better communication. And that's why I'm kind of going for there. I have got a little bit of ambient music to set the mood. If that does get a little bit irritating, please just message me, let me know. I'll turn it down, I'll get rid of it, all of that stuff for you all peeps. So as long as we've got that going. So okay, now that we've got a little bit of the introductions out of the way, I want to actually start talking about what is it we're going to be discussing, what is the plan, and you can kind of see where I'm going with this one. So some of you may not know, but I've teamed up with the online course of XYZ, which is a course over in Russia talking about level design. Well, I'm talking about the level design part of it. And it's really exciting to be part of that. And it was a great time for me to, also work on something different. Some of the last time, excuse me, sorry, I'm getting allergic to my own voice and face, but it's been a while since I was able to build something for you all, and it was always something that I wanted to do. So let's go through kind of this. So they've created their course primarily around stealth. So I thought this would be really cool to see what we're going with there. Um, but while I'm alone, oh, for some of you, I'm streaming across multiple platforms: YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter as well. So I'll be getting some questions. I'll read them out. Also, if you do have questions about anything level design, anything you want to pick my brain on, please just send them through. I will answer them as we go through. I will read them out to you all here. Watermelon has a good joke because I thought you were going to go to a pro Twitch streamer. I wish I would. In terms of, I probably make a lot more money, and you wouldn't just see my bed over in the corner. You'd see this mansion. Maybe I'd go Joe Exotic, Tiger King on this one. Obviously a joke. I wouldn't actually buy exotic pets, but if you haven't, do go check out Tiger King. It's a great watch for it. Um, but yeah, so I kind of been silent and building up towards the actual course itself. So I want to go through things a little bit more because in the art gallery level, I felt that we kind of because it was a challenge that built up and over from me asking my friend Scoop to give me kind of an idea in terms of what does he, as an idea of a challenge in terms of just 2D maps. I was, like I said, refining my process as an LD, and I thought, well, what would be a cool thing with that was then I built the maps, and you guys never really saw much of my process behind the map, and then I just started to build it for Blocktober. So I thought, well, hold on, let's try and kind of do this from the start, show you the full process that I would go through if I was doing an actual level for someone, so that way you can see my process, start from nothing to something, and we can kind of go through this. Prey Interactive asks, do you ever go to any gaming events in the north of England, Newcastle, Middlesbrough, etc.? Yes, I do. I mean, I used to live in both Middlesbrough and Newcastle back in England, back in the day. And I feel that, I'm in Poland now, so I don't always get a chance, and that's not where my family originates from. I'm in North Yorkshire, is where my family, so I end up there. But if I have time, I do go up there to see friends. I was supposed to be doing a talk at Animex, but Animex, due to Corona, has been cancelled, and sadly due to that. So, but what I did do for those who are Patreon members, I think 2 weeks ago, I did actually present the talk that I was going to present there, and that way we could all kind of get together and talk. So also what I want to say here, for those who are Patreon members, after I wrap this up, I'm probably going to be here for about 30 minutes to 60 minutes, I haven't decided yet. I'm actually going to head over to the Discord channel with the Patreon members and do like a more in-depth Q&A. So if you want to do that, and you're not a member already, head over to patreon.com/leveldesignlobby, where we can actually get on a proper chat channel and talk to one another, not just type out to me. So, hello, good sir, thank you for joining us. I can't speak Russian that well, so I would butcher your name so badly, and I apologize for not for not knowing more of Russian. But yeah, I try to get over to the Northeast. That's where I started my AAA career, and I do appreciate going to there. North asks, do you feel showing a fully fledged game is good, or just a blockout for your portfolio? Right, so this is a good question to start off with. It depends what you want to do, mate, with this one. If you're the way if you're trying to be a level designer, showing levels is fine. If you've got a full-fledged game that you've done and released, that's still great as well. But if you're just looking to build for a portfolio, I would actually just recommend just building a small level. Now, what I say with the level 2 is not a level that you've just conjured up of a game in your head. Take an example, in whether that be something like Division, Uncharted, Control, Final Fantasy VII, whatever you want to kind of. Oh, I actually just realised I left my drink bottle when I need that. But you want to build it in terms of a game that's already pre-made, pre-existing, so that way you don't have to explain the game. So it's easier for them to understand as soon as you set it up. And what I recommend as well is when you're doing like a video, like have the main. So if I was doing a level for Last of Us, just as an example, when I would do my video walkthrough, I would have what I'd do is I'd have the video first opening with the main menu from, say, like Last of Us, so we see that, then transitions to just what we see here with the block out on screen, but that way it just sets the tone. Maybe I put some Last of Us music on the background, but if you just want to do this level design, just do level design. That was one of the best advice I got, and I really want to hammer that home, especially now that people are more excited to show more block outs rather than full finished art pieces, because that's not our job. So do that more, North. Focus on block outs. If you can script it as well, even better. But if you've just got a block out, play some some meshes of where you think enemies will go, that's still fine too, but along that line. So yeah, your nickname reads Monsieur. Oh man, why am I feel even bad even not trying to say this. Raiguri. Mr. Raiguri. I'm going to call him Mr. Raiguri. Am I wrong? Or am I messed up with that one? Raiguri. I like that nickname. I think it's cool. It rolls off the tongue. I'm not pronouncing it correctly. I can feel that, but I'll roll with it. North asks, just to follow up on that, I was about to say, will mechanics need crucial? So in terms of making sure your level has the mechanics, use the mechanics in the game. Now, if you can't build them out, or can't find like a kit that provides them, that's fine. Just highlight them in your blockout. So again, just using Last of Us as the example. If we've got a bit where we're Joel boosting Ellie up, then maybe have a green block by the wall and a green block at the top of the ledge. So that would be in your walkthrough, I've placed these green blocks, this is where Ellie would go up and then knock down a ladder for Joel. Something like that just to narrate. So place highlights of where the mechanics would be. That's really important as well. So even if you don't have the mechanics, you can still highlight that you've thought about them and taken them further with that one. So yeah, all that stuff with that there. So focus just on, like I said, the level design for the portfolio and making sure it fits in an already pre-existing game world. That is what I'd recommend for that. Okay, cool. Are there any more questions before I move on to the next step here, team, before I go on and start to go through kind of the level we're going to be starting here tonight? I'll give it a couple of seconds because I'm just going to grab my water bottle. So if you've got any questions, just quickly write them out for me. Okay. Water bottle, got to stay hydrated. That definitely can be used as a gift to get me back at some point. Okay. It seems that right now there's no more questions. Like I said, keep asking them all the way through. I'll answer them as we come through. Will this stream be on my channel tomorrow? Yes, all of this, if you miss this, it will be on either Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube. All of this will be up there, team. So if you want to catch it later, like I said, if you want to stick around, I understand that it's late. If you want to stick around for the talk on the Discord, feel more than free there. Water Malone asks, how have you found working during the pandemic? A lot of LDs are going to be feeling reduced. I mean, there's obviously things I can and cannot say, but in terms of me, like, it feels fine. It doesn't feel much different from how it was. I need to get better in frame. Let's see if we can just hold on. I want to move just so it's easier for me. There we go. A bit more in frame. I feel that actually it hasn't changed much. I feel that because of what we do, obviously it's changed in how I see and communicate with people, but I can still do my work just fine. Everything's cool. The team's still very communicative. So, I mean, to me, it hasn't changed much. Everything still go ahead. So yes, cool. I hope that answers your question. I think also it's going to be a very interesting time, Water Malone. I think working from home is going to, after, when things go back to normal, the new normal, however it plays out, I think it's going to be very interesting to see where kind of working from home lands, because I think it's going to be increased in terms of popularity and maybe even open up more doors for people where you don't actually have to go work, travel and immigrate to a different country. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just speculating. But right now, in terms of productivity, if anything, I feel more productive, just in the sense of, because as you can see, my place is small, but like I'm working more because there isn't as much I can do right now. So I spend more time working, and I said I can still get hold of people easy. I can call them, internal chats. All of that's pretty good. So yeah, pretty good at the minute. Thomas asks, hi, how important is the documentation on your portfolio/everyday work? We're actually going to go through some documentation, mate. I actually strongly recommend it. In terms of portfolio, I think it's good to have. I recommend that you do include that. Obviously, I'd say the video walkthrough is probably the first thing that they should see on any portfolio piece, just because you can narrate over what you're trying to do, discuss that. And I think it's also a very important one in terms of like them getting to know how you work. But we're going to go through some like paper design now, but I recommend it. I do think it's really important to do in terms of 2D maps, the actual documentation of how to set up a level, like in terms of what the objective narrative is. I do think it's important. Do put it in your portfolio. If you have it, go for it, mate. I recommend getting it in part of it. Also, just want to state this out right. It's already normally said, but Anything I say here does not represent any company I have or do work for. This is just me talking. Anything like that, just like that, this is just me, Max Perez from Level Design Lobby, with the tile on that screen, just here talking to you all. Just want to make that one clear as well. Okay, let's now then move on to the actual documentation that I want to show you from my side here, team, and go through there. Okay, so this here is our documentation for what we're going to be talking about. Now, I don't know how loud that is, so I apologize if that's loud and irritating for you. It's like me drinking water. I'm sure this makes someone happy somewhere. So Outblock is the name of the segment of the course that I'm helping out with, and this is the logo. And when I asked about what's important, I asked if I'm allowed to continue with the freedom of, can I make any level? Is this something that you're looking for? They said just go through and just try make a stealth level that's interesting and that can help people taking this course understand stealth better. So I start to break this down. What is the mission brief here? So for me, I decided to make this where we're trying to break inside a warehouse. This roughly takes about 8 minutes in total. There's stealth, traversal, and if anything kicks off, there's range combat as well, with either tranquilizers or rifles from the enemies, so that we understand that. So that's really important. The camera is a third person perspective, and that if we are going to have some form of combat, that we do have cover. However, I'm going to state this, stealth's really important to them in this. So the characters and controls that they've set up means that once you enter combat, you're very much at a weakened state, shall we say. So that way you really have to make sure that you really don't get caught. But if you have it, you've got some cover for that to use there, from it there. We've now got another question. Max, have you ever level designed secret facilities or just laboratories in general? How can you find out what secret situations and laboratories should look like? Good question, mate. For this one, it's more about using your imagination to it. Obviously, firstly, research. We're about to talk about research a little bit further on in this, but really do look at facilities that we already have. Look at what laboratories there already are. Look at good, because stuff has been exposed through different governments at some points in certain laboratories, right? And you can start to look at that and then start to exaggerate. Now, some of this will come with narrative. It's not just going to come up to you just to make up something on the spot. They'll normally state, breaking into a secret government facility, and in that there is either a chemical lab, maybe it's a robotics lab. All of this, then you can start to reference gather alongside your artist, and that's how you'll start to build up a picture from there. Really start to go through in your head and start to push and exaggerate the importance of this. So yeah, in terms of it, it's really about getting as much reference as you can and then exaggerating it further out, and that's really how it plays out, mate. That's how I think when you've done that, like we did that with, what was it called? It's a mobile game. It got cancelled, but it was like this early in my career. We literally just looked at old laboratories, looked at stuff where sadly animal testing facilities, but because it's quite it's not a nice subject, we kind of ramped that up, exaggerated on top of that. So yeah, firstly find out from narrative what they're kind of after. I'm just realizing the music's getting more intense, and then kind of exaggerate on that, kind of really build upon it. But you need to talk with your narrative team as well. So yes. Next question we have from Marcus. What's the best modeling application, 3D Max Blender, to learn commonly used in the industry? Right, so this was a really interesting question. Sorry, I'm just going to turn the music down a smidge because it's getting pretty intense. Okay. So in terms of, sorry, I've lost everyone's questions now. Hey Derek. There we go. Right. So best application, modeling applications, right. I would, for me as a level designer, I've not really used many. I know how to use some basics on some, but because the engines I've used, I tend to just use the kits that we have provided to us by artists. But I know some studios like Naughty Dog, Codemasters, they will use modeling kits to build the levels and then import them into their editor. Now, in terms of what's the best, like, I don't know, like each has pros and cons, but to me, from my understanding with them, is once you have a good understanding for this, you can actually, it's easy to transfer it later to just see how it's all put together in a different package. So if I were you, picking like something like 3ds Max or Blender is fine, but just get yourself up to a proficient level with them. Don't zigzag switch between, start to build your knowledge and then move from that one there. Team is what I recommend. I hope that answers your question, buddy. Derek, hey bud, nice to have you here. Right, we'll go back to the document now. So I kind of have now a bit more of a better understanding of what's happening here, what kind of the idea of what's going on. I can go from there. Now, as we just spoke about earlier with the secret facility, we need to have a narrative brief. Help us again understand what's happening with the narrative and the level. What is it that narrative design are looking for, and how we can accentuate and really sell that with art in the level itself. So we have been informed as a player who's a mercenary that there is illegal shipping of weaponry being stored and shipped out to terrorist organizations. This is being stored inside a warehouse. We need to gather multiple forms of evidence and make sure that we're not spotted and leaving a trace that we're there. So this is something I actually want to talk about. We mentioned about having documentation. I want to show you a couple of things that I think is really important with regards to doing documentation as well. Sorry, let's just keep this. But I want to show you like another document that I've done here as well, which is this is another level I intend to do a little bit later. But I want to share this with you. Is for those who've taken part in the level design weekend, those of you who don't know, I run a level design weekend in which I set a task for you to make a level just over a weekend from a game. I create that task and then I will review your work. And normally one of the things I ask for is a document to help me understand your level, your process, all of this, right? And one of the things that I keep seeing and really try to bang on with these documents is really make sure that you present well with them, right? This here would be a Deus Ex level inspired one. So I see a lot of people just do a Word document and that's kind of it. Really take pride in your documents. Now you might not always get to do this in your actual job due to time restrictions. You know, people need to look and work in these documents, so branding changes, so those reasons there. But really respect the documentation and see how you can actually work with it. Like if you look here with both of them, you notice how, firstly, look, I've got these background that reflects that of Deus Ex. So not only do we have the logo, but the colors kind of match there. I have chosen a specific type of font here that I've installed for this. So that way you can keep that and it helps sell. Not only that, I've got a Deus Ex logo in the corner. All of this to really, again, help sell it. Now, if we look at what I'm doing here, I've actually added orange text. You've got to remember this with your actual games as well. Your documentation. When you send this out, people get a lot of emails a day. Getting people's attention is super friggin' important, and keeping it is even harder. So this way, what I do when I write these documents out is I will highlight the important words in this in this case it's orange. In, for example, this document here, it's the gold. So when people skim read player informed illegal shipping of weaponry, they can use that to help them just take the important information and not have to read whole paragraphs, because like I said, it's hard enough getting people's attention, but like keeping it is even harder. The real Rangerman, good evening or good night or wherever you are to you as well, my friend. Derek asks, what type of game is this? So this here is going to be a third person stealth. I just brought up Deus Ex here just to discuss about documentation. That's all. But this one we're talking about here is a stealth third person with it. This is actually, for those who've just joined us, this is taking place because I'm doing this to help teach at the XYZ school, which is over out in Russia. I don't know if they still have places there, but it's a course online that I'm helping out with. So yeah. So the next thing also I want to talk about is the background. If you just have like black text on a white background, that's not gripping. But because they had a logo, I saw that this logo has orange. I made it white and orange, similar to the logo here. Keeps it on brand, keeps it kind of hooked, interesting. I just picked a random image online that looked kind of cool. I liked the logo and thought it had a nice vibe to it, synthy. So I jumped on that, and then we can kind of pick through here. The next thing that you want to do with your documentation, like we said, is really try to lay it out where it's not just a wall of text. So that way it's so easy to read, it's really helpful, and people can get a much easier understanding and better understanding of what it is, and you can keep people quickly going through it, and it can keep people more engaged. Honestly, Word documents are really hard, same with Excel sheets. You will need to do both for sure, but if you can find a way to make your documentation more interesting, go for it. And a little tidbit, when I got the job where I am now, when I did the test, I spent quite a bit of time on documentation as well as the level, so they both did good things. But the compliment I got was from when they reviewed my work, was the guy when I had the interview had said to me, "Oh, this is the best documentation I've seen." So that helps me stand out. So I'm passing it on to you. If you do take part in the level design weekends, or you are doing documentation, really think about how you can keep the documentation interesting, grounded in the kind of world that you've built. Now, we spoke about earlier with North about doing levels for your portfolio. Like I said here, make sure when you're doing your documentation that matches it, that it all fits in to sell which world, which universe this is taking place in. So yeah, important there. Next one is the location breakdown. Now, this is me just kind of understanding what kind of location there is. This will also help with art too. It helps me break it down from a gameplay perspective, but it helps art understand, okay, he's going to do these areas, so we kind of know what needs to be going through here. Derek, my friend, you're right. I've not got this perfect, but I need to like bolden stuff out and experiment with it more, mate. But yes, you're right. Thank you for the feedback, buddy. But yeah, you can see that sets it up for people who are looking at the mission before it even gets there. They know where this all is taking place. Next is talking about objective flow, kind of breaking down overall how the mission will play out. These blue ones here, these are optional objectives for the player to do. These orange ones are the main objectives. So we've got to pass through the woodlands without getting detected, enter the warehouse, find the evidence, go onto the upper floor as well, and then escape area. And Derek adds to the point as well that the text also needs to get to the point, which is bang on right, buddy. We need to make sure that, like we said, it's snappy, you read it, you understand what's going off right on the back. So yeah, and as you've seen in this document already, there's not much text to it. I've kind of kept it a minimal, just again, so people can be like, bah, 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 get through it all. Now that they kind of know what the objective flow is, I start to break down the beats. Now the beats you will be discussing with, say if you have a quest or a mission designer, some companies that is level design as well. It depends where you're working. But I will then start to create kind of these beats, which helps me break down what's kind of happening, what is the gameplay different, how that all plays into it. And then from there, we can actually create the object pacing graph here. So that way we can kind of know how intense this is going to be. Like when we look at this, there's a really big build-up. Like maybe that would actually be too long. Here's when... Oh, Derek's now giving me criticism. Getting to the point on this. Mate, I'm just going through this because there's people who may not know this as much as others. I'm taking the time to go through. but I will try to speed it up a little bit for you. Anyway, the beats here, they're really, like I was saying, when it's going through and being reviewed, what's happening is, again, we can start to understand the pacing, we can start to understand how this all comes through, and really from here, like I've had it when we've gone through beats in reviews before I even made the stuff, that you can't actually, that you realize the level's actually quite boring, or maybe it needs to have more breaks, or maybe it's too action oriented. All of this can help. So I've got us a couple of questions. Hey, people have just joined. Dennis goes, oh, outblock content, cool. Yes, Dennis, I hope that you'll enjoy it. And Andrew, I hope you said your name correctly, sir, is, hey Max, how do you determine a difficulty curve in design level? You're actually at the right point. This is also done with your pacing graph as well. This can kind of help. Now it's slightly different, but the difficulty curve, right, this is a really hard thing to do. I don't think you can necessarily do it, say, at the, how do I put this? I don't think you necessarily always do it when you're in the documentation phase, because there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of how difficult enemies are, especially if it's something like an RPG, where you've got different levels, scaling of weapons, all of that can play a factor. So it's a hard one to do, but what you should know is, where does your level take place in the game? Like this one here would be, just judging by the pacing, would be like an early to mid part of the game, right? So while if it was later, there would be a lot more high points. So see how I start here and build up, like we talked about? You see if it was more challenging, it would kind of start here or here and keep at that pace for longer and do that, rather than building up to it. So you can kind of get a sense of it, but difficulty is really hard to nail down kind of off the price with it. So yeah, you can kind of get a bit of an understanding with it. North asks, do these challenges come with a top tier on your Patreon? No, the weekly challenges are the level 5 Patreon. The level design weekends are the level 10. The top tier Patreon is more one-on-one mentorship, where we can review your work, review your portfolio, maybe create a certain level for you to do, and we build on that together. So that's really what the top tier is. But you can get the challenges where I talk to you and the level design weekend from either level 10 tier or level 5. Derek will say, now I would say that's all good. Cheers, my friend. Yes. Does anyone have any more questions? I'm going to go a bit more in detail about the beats now. But does anyone else have any more questions in terms of documentation, the layout of the documentation, objective flow, all of that stuff? If you have questions, please ask them now before we get on to this, to the next one. I'm going to have another drink and probably annoy your ears. So, buddy, thank you for joining me, and cheers for the compliment. I've just said this to a few of the great Russian listeners that we have with us today. If your name is in Russian, I will seriously mess this up and struggle to high heaven. I am actually working with one of our LDs is Russian, so she's taught me a few things, and I've been learning a few things on the XYZ stuff, but still got a long way to go in terms of learning Russian. Angie goes, agreed with every single word you said. When I tried to explain the same to my mentor at uni when present my game design document, she denied it entirely. Right, okay. Can you explain more about why she denied it, right? Because if she has some reasons, then maybe we can talk about it and we can actually kind of discuss this, you know. So when you're writing this out, are you making a whole game, or are you making a level for a game where you're just trying to get the level difficulty? Just write that out. I'll answer some other ones. Tan says, I'm entering a bit late. Is this for the weekly challenge? No. This is not for any weekly challenge. I will release the weekly challenge tomorrow morning, which is going to be well, I may as well say it now here for those who are on the Patreon level 5 tier. The weekly challenge for tomorrow is going to be actually you designing an open world encounter based in Division 2, in which the main focus I want you to focus on with that encounter and that challenge is designing a 360 approach to a level. And I think that's really important, especially with obviously how popular and how common open world as well as battle royales are. So I think that's a really important one to it team. So yeah, that's going to be the challenge for this week. If you do, I don't want to keep saying the Patreon because like it feels like a plug, and I don't want to plug it during these weird times. But yeah, like that's tomorrow's challenge. This is me breaking down a level that I'm going to be going through at the XYZ course, which is online. And yeah, so Shiro, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us, bud. Okay, so let's go through these beats. Oh, Andrew's coming. I was making a full game, puzzle platformer. She kept saying the difficulty curve of the whole should be easily determined at the very beginning. Did she mean in documentation on the feel of your level? Well, buddy, I feel that I've really messed up by saying that you Russian did not know. So I sincerely do apologise there, my friend. Like that was not. That makes me even feel more embarrassed with how little I know. But maybe one day I can get a Russian nickname that isn't just fool. You know, because I'm sure that's my Russian nickname right now in this moment, my friend. So I apologise to you. Yeah, we'll go through the beats while it's kind of going through. So what you'll find with the beats and the beats graph is that you'll kind of break it down, right? You'll break down the kind of your main mechanics with it. So you'll have your cutscenes, exploration / traversal will be a big one. Stealth is one for us. Observe, now that I'm actually looking at this again, well, think about it more like this. When you play Metal Gear Solid 5, observation is like where you tag, right? It's important for you to go through, tag the enemies to help you plan your stuff. So that's what I've said with it. But looking at it, maybe that's actually not good enough to be a gameplay beat. But we're living, we're learning, we're growing, and it's important. But that's kind of how I've got it in my mind. It's a slower pace, right? Then from here, what you do, and I haven't added it in this one. Did I add it in this one? Yeah, okay. But what you do, because I didn't put it in there, but because you wouldn't always have this, but it helps to demonstrate my point here. So I'm sorry to jump through between documents here. But basically, I would add a value for these gameplay beats in terms of their intensity, their pacing. And that way, we can see how much the engagement is of the player and the difficulty for the player too. So if this is a combat, you can see these are much higher because they're more engaging because the player has to be aware, and they're more challenging because they have the risk of dying. Versus say something like a cutscene where it has very little player agency, and it's you can get involved in a cutscene in terms of like how it connects to you, but it's not going to grip you as much. So that way we can kind of start to see waves and graphs. Now, when you're doing the pacing, it shouldn't just be a straight line across. It shouldn't be like this or just this. You really should have the build-up, downbeats, and that. So it should be more of a wave to keep the player engaged with all of this. So we've got a few more questions here, so let's get to them. Derek asks, what do you mean by 360? 360, what I mean, buddy, is a 360 approach, right? In terms of that this level can be approached from all angles. Obviously, your level might restrict a few different areas for it, but especially when I was working on Ubisoft with the open world, you'd have to make sure that your levels most of the time were either 180 approachable or 360 approachable. So there's entrances that you come on different sides, so there's cover, it's readable, the player can still get involved no matter how they're interacting with it and how they can actually take up the what's going on, how to strategize from how they enter it. And that's really important, especially when you're building open world levels. That's what I mean by 360, buddy. Andrew goes, documentation. While I was determining a difficulty curve graph, yep. But I admitted that it could change based on the levels actually feeling. I mean, I think, did she reject your difficulty graph? Because your difficulty graph should be fine, or it should have been if you hand something like this. We are aware that this is just paper. It can change as time kicks on. Maybe there's not enough. Maybe it doesn't feel right despite the graph. This is just a help starter. But, like, really expand on what she means, mate, because I don't want you to say, oh, I watched Max and he said that this isn't good. She's probably saying it for a reason. Now, I don't know what that reason is. I obviously don't know fully about what you're presenting her to. But really try kind of break down a little bit more what is she wants and communicate on that one there, just to help, because like I said, I don't want to undermine anyone when I'm doing this, especially when I don't have the full context. So really try to talk to her, but the difficulty in pacing graph should be a great start for you. But what you can do then, you can do a difficulty graph of each level, how you imagine it, and you could do a difficulty graph of the game as well. Maybe that will help with you, buddy. So what else do we have? We have Colorman, very interesting content. Do you record this stream? Yes, all of this will be out, like once the stream wraps up, on Twitch, YouTube and Twitter, so you'll be able to watch all of this in full glory. Derek asks, with the 360 approach, so ways to take it down. Not necessarily ways to take it down, but ways to enter it. Ways for you to kind of come in and interact with it. So, think about, especially Ubisoft games are great at these. Think about when you're running through the world, whether it be Assassin's Creed, Division, Far Cry. You, as a designer, will never always know where the player is coming from. So that's what you have to design, 360, 180 or 270. Some will just be one, but the focus is 360 for tomorrow's challenge. But that's where you have to focus a lot of it to make sure it can be approached from all angles so that you can be engaged. Why do we use these video scenes? We need to... Oh, sorry. Timothy asks the question of, why do we... Sorry, I'm completely stumbling on my words. Sorry, buddy. Why do we use these video scenes? We need to decrease pressure and let the player to take rest, or let him understand that he'll start doing something intensive. So yeah, in terms of this, it can be used for pacing, it can be used for storytelling, it can be used for those things, but we use different kind of scenes. One, because it depends on your mechanics. Like in Deus Ex, when I'm talking about scene, I'm not necessarily talking about a cutscene. That's why it's got 0 to 2, because a cutscene would be 0, because there's less agency. Doesn't mean it doesn't keep you in it, but I'm saying there's less agency. But they do have interactive scenes where we choose dialogue. Those dialogues can have different opportunities for us to do good or bad options. So it's this kind of thing, mate, that shows there. So we can use it to help sell the story. It's an intense conversation. Maybe we're learning something. All of this and all of that kind of stuff there, mate. Cool. Next ones we've got to go on to this one. Andrew says, I did make for an entire game in the end, so it gave a full overview on the final game and its fluctuations. And was that not good enough for it? Because I feel like I said, I'm not here bad-mouthing anyone because I don't know the full thing, but maybe you can just help her. Sorry, you can communicate with her so she can help you. She can help you understand what she's looking for, because if she's saying no, then there must be a reason. So really, just try ask, because maybe you two just aren't on the same page in terms of communication. Think about that. Ashuro, hello, good sir or madam. Man, sometimes with these names I don't know who's what, so I apologise. But hello, welcome, my friend. Thank you for joining. Have you ever read anything about the SCP Fond universe? If yes, how many years have you been known about this universe? I don't even know what SCP stands for, my friend. So I'm going to say no. If you can elaborate, that'd be great. Derek goes, I'm a player, I'm seeing endgame. I don't quite get what you mean by that one, my friend. Are you saying that 360 is only endgame? Or, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question there, my friend. Andrew, best of luck with the conversation as well, because hopefully you guys, because she's probably doing it to help you understand something. Maybe she's doing something me and you are not seeing, and just we're not realizing. So hopefully with communication you can get that done and really get it better, my friend. And I'm rooting for you. Where are we? We need to go back to this actually. So yeah, once you've established your beats in terms of the intensity of them, you can then roughly know where to place them on this graph to make an effective graph with it. Okay. Oh, duration as well. We said it's 8 minutes. You could put 0 to 8. That's up to you. That's just something. Just again, this is roughly placing them where we think they'll take place in the level and the mission. Okay, warehouse references. The next thing I'm going to bang on about, because this was like drilled into my head for it. Derek comes back with rewards. Again, mate, this is me. Sorry, I'm not understanding, buddy. What do you think 360 approach equals more rewards, or are you on about like when you do these as a player, you're only focused on doing it because of the rewards doing it? And that's part of the reason some of these are set up. It's partly to make the world feel alive. But yeah, there's some stuff there. Yeah, and just do. I think it's important to. I think we can always learn, you know, communication is so important. Okay, so now we're going to move on to references. Now, if you have done a weekly level design class with me, you'll know that I will bang on you to get a super amount of references. This here is just the ones that I chose because I did a lot of research on warehouses. And if you haven't, do check out this site over here. Let me just find the right one for your team. Do look at this website here, people, because this is a really good website to help with references, right? Not only does it, because this really helped me think about differences in warehouses. When I think about warehouses, I think it's just these big, boring, abandoned, you know, not boring, but traditional triangle roof, just an open space. But if we look at some of these, right? Look how futuristic and fancy some of these look, right? This look with all these windows, and then you can see here that this actually doesn't reach all the way there. It looks like it's got a railing for it. And there's empty here, but over here there is like stairs to go through. The website, my friend, is called archdaily.com. Save this, because not only does it go through cool thing, we can see there's an entrance here, and look at how this entrance like almost like an arrowhead. Like, that's cool. You might not have noticed. We can see some variation, parking, different. See, we can see there's 3 ways into this office already. And look, there's a gym in that warehouse. Not knowing what you think about. But what's also great about this site here is, we can see that is a balcony here. Is that meeting rooms? We can actually get a sense of the different rooms that are used, so we can help sell that inside of our levels too. But look at this. It's got the floor plans. Brilliant, because that for us is almost not half the job done, but it's just inspiring for us to actually go off and make these. Like, sometimes when you're making your levels, you don't need to create a whole new blueprint from scratch. You can actually start to sketch out theirs and then change it, you know, open the space up if we need it for combat, reduce space if we don't need all of it. We can start to build it up, so it's just a great point for it. I'm trying to think if I can find you some other good ones that I really liked from the warehouse. There's one that I really was in love with for this project. I'll show you it in the reference gathering, but just so you can also see it. I don't think they've got it, or it's gone here. Well, we'll go through it in a second anyway, peeps. But yeah, reference is so important for this, and it's not even about, like, for me, this is what inspired me to make like these images here are so much better than the traditional one of even just this icon is how we would roughly imagine it. But when we have all this stuff here, like, oh, so sleek, so sexy, so kind of futuristic with it. And if I go through and grab my okay. So now we're going to go through all of these so you can see, because I bang on that you shouldn't go into your process until you have minimum 50 images. So I go through quite a bit here. I don't have my ProRef, it's on my laptop, it's not on this computer, but I have like a ProRef of, because what I did is I have like over 70 images or something like that. I put it in PureRef, sorry, not ProRef, and then started to pick out these different kind of things to help sell the overall image that I was going after. But you can see the different materials. This one's actually made out of just containers itself, which was really cool, very different. You can see going through, I like this because you can see like maybe if we've got stealth, we can go through it all here and move through with the indent, which is super nice, and also the color contrast, which to help highlight where players could go. See all these different shapes on top of it, all of that we can start to see. Loading bays, how do they look? Security cameras. As you can see, this is another floor plan from there. Me trying to understand the different shapes, how they interact with one another. All of this stuff. So that I've gone through. This is my favorite building. This here will be the main inspiration for the warehouse that I built. You've got all of this space here, different contrast of colors, all of this, which is really cool. 50, mate, not 15, 50. You need a lot of these. But also what I like about spaces like this, right, because the corner's cut, it's more negative space, inviting players to come in and go through there. So I also like this, because that's something that I will probably put like a random name just on it. But it's really cool there. So yeah, really nice one for that. Okay. We've got some more questions that I've been neglecting. I apologize. I was getting really excited for this. So let's go through them. Okay. So that, we talked about what the website was called. Aldos goes, today I learned warehouses are not fixed boxes or windows. Yes, right? Crazy. Super cool. Super amazing. And even what I like about this one too is when you come down here, look, we can already see that's locked because it looks very rectangular. But because there's this open edge here, open like cut into the building, that pulls you in. Pretty cool, right? Yep, pretty good. Yep, Derek says this is art of the world. Couldn't agree with you more, buddy. 50 references. North goes, sorry to ask the question. Interrupts. Do you have any top tiers available? Yes. North, if you can message me, because it seems like you're watching on Twitter, if you can just send me a message on Twitter after the stream ends, we'll get you in, buddy. Not a problem, and we'll go through there from there, my friend. So just drop me a message. So after this, we'll put you in, mate. Now back to the Oh, I'm very excited to see what the SCP is. Okay, SCP is a website where the writers write about anomaly objects about the universe itself, the canon, the history that they are associated with. Wow, no, I've never heard of that, mate. That sounds very interesting, though. Like, is it fictional or non-fictional about the objects? Let me know, because this is pretty interesting stuff. Zinner's PT says, will the stream be on the YouTube channel afterwards? Yes, it will be, buddy. It will, once I stop streaming, it'll be there for you. So I'm going to be probably finishing up in the next 10 minutes anyway. But yeah, once it's done, it'll be available. It's available on Twitch for 14 days, but it's on YouTube for forever. Scary. It's scary that you can all see my bed in this. You don't want to know what else I do to make money, but that was really bad. But yeah, so yeah, it'll be up online, my friend. You can check it out. Timothy says, where will you try to find information if you want to add your stealth game like ventilation system? I'm not going to add one for me. No, I'm going to have multiple entrances. But that's a good question, mate. You'll tend to find, well, actually it's this, mate. The vent system, learn how and why they place vents in a certain way. They don't just place vents everywhere. They place it to remove certain air out of the building or bring air in, right? And then you kind of create assistant to help sell with your level. Vents, I tend to, vents, I tend to kind of just create the path. So I keep that in mind in my 2D map. If I'm like, right, there's got to be a vent system, I'm adding a vent system, I kind of keep that in mind in my 2D map. I will then, sorry, you can't see, I would then scribble it down in here inside to make it know. But I would keep that in mind, because sometimes it depends. Is it an overhanging vent? Is it a vent going through? But you need to firstly understand how vents work, but you will have creative freedom to use them how you see them, buddy. Opinion on Halo's 3D asset and visual look and design. I haven't seen that, mate, so I don't really know. Derek, my friend, you say B. Be you, my friend. But yeah, so as you can see, I've gone through, like I said, I love this. Look at there is an angle, if you look here, which is very good. This is inside of it as well, because here's another thing. I've got to think about the exterior and the interior when doing this, so you need to grab references for both. And look, we can see, as we spoke about earlier, with this opening up, how the security works. This looks very fancy with all the green around it, right? So all of that information we're taking in and kind of learning more and more. And this is actually why I did the woodland and the warehouse, because of this picture here, where there's some woodlands opposite it. So we'll talk a little bit about like that later. We've actually now got the floor plan for this. You can see that there is, firstly, this is the downstairs area, and then this is the upstairs, right? Go through the different floors. And we can see how big of a space there is solely for that of just storage. This is another side. This is from a different warehouse storage from another game. All of this, yeah, keeping in mind. Again, how if you haven't, why am I really stumbling on names here, team? I am being awful. I speak to him nearly every week. Damn. Why have I forgotten the name? Oh man, Illy. Sorry, I've forgotten the dude's name. I don't know why, because I'm just having a brain fart. But one of the designers who's really big on Twitter, he's one of the guys I speak to a lot. Omni, he's like Omni. It's Julian, but it's Omni. He's done like really nice articles at the start of this year, like some brilliant ones, just breaking down like the actual how not only to think about how your space, but how it fits in a city. So this is why this is important for us to see here. So yeah, some great stuff there. Colorman says SCP is entirely fictional but written based on oh wow. It starts from some creepy stories in 2011 and eventually became a huge fandom. So a unique saying. Wow. Okay. No, I've never heard of it, but it's a very interesting one. So yeah, you can see like props that we can think about using. This one I liked from another type of building is there's this side entrance, right, that's going up, so players could even just skip an entire floor. So all of that coming through, and this is another thing that I love that I'm going to steal too, is they've got these massive numbers over the container doors, which I really like. So I think that's something that I looked at. So I looked at all of these and I took them and then chose how I was going to combine them, the ones that are important to me, how they all fit, exterior, interior. Like I said, I'll get the pure ref up as well. And then that's when I created this beautiful map. But you can see kind of the elements that I've taken away with the shapes, right? So it's not just a box like we thought it was. There's more to it. This here, this angle, these angles here would have that of the, like, for example, you see these indents here? That is literally this image here to play into it, right? And then these cuts that we talked about earlier, also playing into that here as well. So I kind of got a little kind of inspiration for that there, but also I've used them for different entrances. This would be the main entrance, and this is where I'm probably going to have the most guard, so it's probably going to be the hardest one to get in. But if you came down here where the storage is, because of the way the picture's cut off, you'd come down and go around. If, for example, and I'll talk about this as an optional objective, if you found some keys on one of the security guards, you could actually bypass this entire floor, unlock the gate, and go upstairs to the second floor itself. So I've thought about 3 different routes inside this, which is actually goes back to what we're talking about, Derek, the 360 approach. Now, this isn't technically 360, but there's multiple entrances still on a similar theory. Then the upper floor. This one I really took inspiration from this building here, about how there's only one side you can get in. We don't use the entire floor that we did from the previous ones, and this would be an entire window. So when you look out, you'd see the loading bay, so you can see where you've progressed. But yeah, that's what we're going with this one here, buddy. So gonna answer some questions. The most difficult. Oh, we're still. Wow, okay. And the most difficult thing is level design locations of the SCP fund, where abnormal objects are contained because they are not registered in any way by writers. Huh. That's a really interesting thing, that. Oh. Only superficially, like there's a security center in the zone of the institution. These are offices. I mean, if you're going to do that, look at Control. That's got some great references of crazy offices. So take inspiration from around it. Derek, my friend, comes. My point was art good, but the number of awards in the mean a lot. Oh, okay, right. It means a lot in games. Yeah, there's a lot like going on. It's combinations. By numbers, do you mean? Are you referring to that of numbers of loot or just overall complexity of levels, my friend? Okay, peeps. We actually didn't even get to start to build on this, which makes me a little bit sad. But I'm going to actually hang up this conversation here. I hope that you have enjoyed all of this. I really do appreciate your time and effort. Next time we'll actually start blocking this stuff out. The next thing I plan to use, the plan to set up is the start area, which is the kind of this abandoned generator where the wood's opposite the warehouse. That's what I intend to block out, and we can go through all of that stuff. So that's the next spot that we intend to go through. So thank you all very much for coming online again. I appreciate you spending time with me. It's 1 a.m. with me. I shouldn't have stayed up this late. Rookie mistake, Max. But I'm here, happy to be chatting to you all, and yeah, really looking forward to hearing more. I'm actually probably not going to do the after Q&A on the Discord because this is 1 a.m. I was dumb enough to do this, and I shouldn't have stayed up as late as I did. But it's really great, great to chat with you. Neverco, you will see this once I go down. You can still watch the thing, but I'm sorry that you've just missed this, buddy. But yeah, please do check it out once I've wrapped it up. Good night to all. How often do I stream? I don't stream as much as I should, but I'm going to be streaming more because you're going to see me build this level now. So the plan is go through and make this one here. So yeah, so you're going to see me, like I said, be active a bit more with it. So I can't say if it's once a week, twice a week yet. Still figuring stuff out in terms of with the course, what to share, what not to share, what assets can I use, what assets can I not use, these sort of things. But it's really cool to work with them. All right, team, take it easy. I'll see you soon, and yeah, pleasure chatting to all of you. All right, everyone, see ya.